Thank you everyone for this meeting. It's been a long time since we didn't organize one. Thanks to Xablu to host and organize everything. Didn't have anything to do except sending some invites, so I'm pretty happy with that. And it's a good way to start again some presentations, meetups, etc. Even though the situation is not easy, we'll try to do more online meetups, and when we can, we'll go back to physical one. But for the moment, let's join the show.
Cool. All right. Thanks, John. Thank everyone for being here, and of course you for having us. We're super happy to be able to speak to your community. And as I previously said, I think this is probably the only and single one good things about this quarantine and this whole situation, that it's sort of bringing all the different communities together, online. So yeah, it just works. And in our case, we're from Argentina. We live here, and that would have been impossible unless we would have traveled there, of course. So, Seba, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk. There is a very interesting situation now, because as Nico said, maybe everybody is at home, but well, it's a good opportunity to meet each other and to talk about this event that is called Microsoft Build, that had a lot of interesting announcements.
Yes. So let's just get this started. What we planned for today is to do a recap. So we will, talk about a lot of things. If you have any questions, just please type it in the chat window. Open your mic if you will. That's also okay. Let's just try to make it as a regular meetup as far as we can. So before we proceed, Seba, who are these guys? That's probably something, everyone's wondering. So who are you, Seba?
Well, I'm Sebastian Perez. I have a very, very, very long name. So I used to use my short name, that is Sebaleo Perez. You will find me in social networks with this short name. I'm Microsoft MVP. From yesterday, I have 2 categories of Microsoft MVP. Maybe it's something new. I'm MVP in Azure and also in developer technologies. So I work in Xablu with Nico. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I don't know. I almost the basketball player, but well, I am not playing now, so I can't say that I'm a player. What about you, Nico?
All right, that's cool. So I'm Nico Milcoff. I'm also a Microsoft MVP. I work together with Seba. We're colleagues. I'm CTO at Xablu, and yeah, I'm generally an open source contributor. One of the maintainers of MvvmCross, for example, but I also contribute to some other projects in general, and I maintain a bunch of libraries. So for today, as we said, we were going to speak about Microsoft Build 2020. We'll talk about the journey to one.NET. So that's the way Microsoft envisions this. So we'll discuss what it is. We'll welcome .NET MAUI, and speak about the future of Windows. Also deliver some updates for artificial intelligence, Azure, Windows, general stuff. We will end this session talking about collaborating from home, and yeah, how does Microsoft see all these things? But first, let's talk some numbers. Seba, did you see all these sessions of Microsoft Build?
That's a very good question, because I tried, but there was a lot of sessions. I mean, it was almost 2 days of broadcast. So there was a lot of sessions, and most of them were happening at the same time. So it was very difficult to see live all that sessions. But anyways, the content is online for you. So if you want to take a look, they are available in the Microsoft Build page. But I don't know, Nico, if you know how many sessions were done.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, because some of them were live and some others were repeated, but certainly there were over 600 sessions, 684, yeah, 48. That's a huge number, of course, but the biggest number that this build gave us was the number of people that got registered to it. So it's over 200,000 people attended the event. And if you compare, if you contrast it with the previous year, they only had something like 6,000 attendees. So of course, this was the very first time they did it online, and they did it for free, of course. The previous versions, the previous editions were not really free. The ticket was quite expensive. Of course, you had to go there. So yeah, this really changed the game, changed the landscape of how virtual conferences go, and it was just unique in so many ways. So for example, just comparing, because we had WWDC from Apple just a few days ago, and we had Microsoft Build before that. So they were really different, very different in many ways. And one of them is that, well, at Microsoft Build, the way it felt was very transparent, very, yeah, at home, I would say. And they didn't really, well, show off the entire potential as a company. They just were at home, showing themselves as humans. So if you look at this screenshot, this is from the Satya Nadella's keynote at the event, and I highly recommend this one. This presentation, because he doesn't hide anything about the current situation and what we're going through. So this was an event that was planned to be done on site, and they just in a few weeks they changed everything from ground up, and it's really inspiring, especially this keynote, because he speaks in a very easy way, and he talks a lot about coronavirus and how Microsoft is trying to help in this situation as much as they can through different ways. And of course, he also mentions things about Azure, artificial intelligence, Power Platform, many things.
Yeah, as you can see, Nico, and everyone, take a look to the background. You can see a picture. It's like I don't know, very familiar. What other people were talking in the conference, and where did they talk?
Well,
That's
people,
the question.
Yeah, all over the place. So, for example, for as Xamarin developers, he's a very dear person to us because he used to be the CEO of Xamarin, and he was just talking from his garden, And on the other side, we have Scott Hanselman from his home office. So it was really delighting to see all of these people's houses, because they didn't hide anything from us. They were just very transparent, and it was really funny. That was with his dog, actually. He's not there, but trust us, he was there. So yeah, it felt like really, really close to us. They showed themselves as humans.
Yeah. Not Friedman. Maybe you know him from Xamarin World, but now he's known because he's managing the GitHub team. He was with his dog, walking in the street, and also Scott Hanselman was interrupted by his kid. So it's a very natural situation. I mean, when we are at home working, it's natural to be maybe with our family, with our kids. So they show us that we can really do it being at home. It was the feeling that the Microsoft Build was sending to us. Yeah. I was feeling that they were at home the same way that I am every day.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, indeed. And then I think the topmost talk about working from home was from Scott Guthrie. So with his very usual red polo, he did a very nice question and answer session. He's very good at improvising, I would say. So generally, his talks are really, really great. And he emphasized quite a lot on the vision for Microsoft, which is to empower people and organizations to be able to achieve more. But he also said that, for example, it's not just about being productive, it's also about being humans. And we're here to celebrate that. And he meant that at Build. And so they are nowadays taking it very seriously to put that human touch into their products. So it's not only about making tools, great tools that allow you to do more. It's also about, being happy while you're using them. So usually in remote situations, these things tend not to be as fun as when you're in person. It's more difficult to make jokes. It's generally more difficult to laugh at things when you're talking to people or as you're working. But certainly introducing GIFs or emojis into GitHub becomes a real necessity. And actually, it requires a lot of effort to think about how to do it well and how to make products that celebrate this human touch that we certainly need in this situation. So this session is, again, highly recommended. And by the way, do you see the books that are there in the background, Seba?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's also his home. And so nice thing. They are not really about, stuff. Those are the stamp collection from Scott. So, it's blank and transparent. He's not hiding. That's
he's
very
fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Very
So,
good.
Let's jump into the content now. What do you have for us, Seba?
Well, we can start talking about .NET with all this .NET 5 stuff. But at first, we have to go back into the 2019 when the Microsoft build was done in Seattle, and they announced the .NET 5 platform for this year. A lot of people were asking if they are really available and they are working on that, and because of the pandemic situation, if the expectations are still releasing in this year. So the answer is yes. They are still they are still working in releasing the .NET 5 version this year. But also the Microsoft build is situated between the last version of .NET Core announcement and the .NET 5 release. So we are in the middle of this situation. But a good thing is, as it is open source, we can check the current status of the development. And well, I checked it today, and it's a little bit more. I mean, it's 72. Okay. Yeah, 72%. This is from last week. So they are still working. Every day they are working on that. But we can check the current status of the development. And I think that they are going to release in the day. They promised November as a date. But as you can see in the due date, they set the last day of November. I mean, the November 30.
That's
so
smart.
They are waiting for the very last moment to release, but still they are optimistic about this happening.
Okay.
Yeah, and as you can see in the details, .NET 5 has is not long-term support. Sorry. So we are not expecting to have a very, very, very complete version of .NET 5, but we are optimistic about a great version of .NET 6. But let's talk a little bit more about .NET 5.
Yes.
What is .NET 5? We currently have a lot of ways of creating applications using .NET. I mean, we have desktop, we have .NET Core, we have .NET Framework, we got Xamarin, we got a lot of alternatives, and they are different. We have a .NET Standard that is a specification that help us to build reusable libraries, but still they are different. We still have different ways of creating applications. So .NET 5 is a unique platform that we can use to create applications for all of these platforms. I mean, desktop, web, cloud, mobile, IoT, and using the same framework, unique and singular experience for the developers. What do you think about this experience, Nico?
I think it's going to be pretty unique, as you put it. Right now we have 3 different frameworks basically. So there's .NET Framework, .NET Core, Xamarin that runs on Mono, and that's it's been laid out for a while. And .NET 5 is going to unify all those 3 into a single one, and it's going to be quite amazing to be able to use the same IDE, so Visual Studio or Visual Studio for Mac or Visual Studio Code, and go do something for WPF, and then reuse that same code and develop something for that runs on the cloud, just cloud native, and then reuse that same code into a mobile app, for example, and then maybe just reuse that same code and go do something for IoT. That's going to be pretty unique. I don't know if there's any other tooling, any other framework or platform in the industry that allows you to do such a thing. And then we can really expect this to work pretty well everywhere it runs, because it's not like they're starting from scratch. There's a long history here, and it's going to be pretty unique. I'm pretty excited about this.
Great. Well, also we are going to have an integrated runtime, also container support, and well, HTTP 3 compatibility.
Yeah,
so there is a lot of stuff with .NET 5, but a lot of people are very curious about what is happening with these different ways, different approaches on creating applications with .NET in the current state. I mean, what would happen with the .NET framework? It is going to disappear. What do you think, Nico?
Well, I'm interested on opinions here. So if anyone can help us, can maybe raise your opinion. What do you think? Will it die? I do have some .NET framework projects. Is it time to migrate? Is it time to be scared?
I personally don't think that we should be scared, but we should definitely think about migrating. It's like, I don't think that we'll decommission things in like 1 year or 2 years, but 3 years maybe. It's more like that. In my opinion, it would be something like this.
Yeah. So what's going to happen then?
Well, the thing is, it's not going to die.
Okay.
But for now, we can say it for now, because .NET Framework will have support. I mean, it will have security updates. It will have bug fixing. I mean, if there is any issue in the platform, it will be fixed. So it's okay. It will be support, maintain, cryptographic libraries, all that stuff. It is going to work, but we are not going to have any new features in the platform. So if you want to use new stuff, you have to move to .NET 5. But the good news for .NET Framework developers are that if you have a project now, it is going to work. I mean, you are not in a hurry to run a migration, but it is recommended to start looking at .NET 5, because we don't really know when it's going to happen, this .NET Framework deprecation. So yeah, it's good to. I mean, we can say that we are calm about the situation, because we can still work with .NET Framework, but just take a look to .NET 5 and start slowly moving to .NET 5, because we don't really know what is going to happen. But also, we have another concept inside .NET, that is .NET Standard. Remember that .NET Standard, as we said, is an specification. It's just a standard that that different platform has to apply to share some code and some libraries. So what is going to happen with .NET Standard? What do you think, Nico?
Yeah, that's a good question because net standard makes a lot of sense because you have different frameworks, because you have Mono, or Xamarin, because you have .NET Framework and .NET Core. But if it's a single thing, well, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Do you have opinions
Yeah.
here?
Anyone?
Let's see. Who wants to bet? Make your guess. What's going to happen to it?
Don't hesitate to talk. I can always talk, but we are many people here.
So we have questions. So Xamarin will no more be based on Mono. Well, in the end, Xamarin is going to be, is not really sure if Xamarin will be. We'll get into that later. But generally, so the runtime and the stability that we have there is not going to be lost. So the framework, the runtime will be integrated, but of course, many pieces of Mono will continue to be used. So what will happen with Net Standard?
Well, as we said, Net Standard is just an specification, but there is no implementation behind. I mean, there are different implementation of .NET Standard, but there is no unique implementation. So we can say that .NET 5 is going to be the next .NET Core version. So it is going to be the next implementation of .NET, and also it will be the next standard, because it will be just one technology, one platform, one framework. So there is no need for another standard to be defined. So we can say that the new standard is .NET 5, but not only a standard, but also an implementation. So as we can say in this quote that we really like with Nico, .NET 5 is going to be the new standard, because we have one specific framework now. There is no need for a new version, but also it's the implementation. And also it's important to understand that if we build our applications using the .NET standard, it is continue to be alive. I mean, it is not like .NET framework that it is going maybe to die, but maybe it is. There is no need to define a new standard, because .NET 5 is going to be like an standard and implementation both. At the same time.
So this means that, for example, it's not that Net Standard is going to be deprecated, that if I have Net Standard library that I should move away. No, it's not like that. What happens is that there's no necessity for .NET Standard 3 anymore, because it will just be .NET 5. So we will get these new framework target monikers, Net 5.0, like that, and then we can use that in our libraries. But we should continue to support Net Standard in our libraries for legacy purposes. So for example, if you have an old .NET Framework app and you have this new library, you can add the target framework moniker Net Standard 1.0, for example, and then make it compatible with your framework. So it's just it's not necessary anymore. That's the way to put it. But some concepts, like for example, multi-targeting, will remain. Because Net Standards came to life sort of at the same time as the new CS proc format, and many concepts that were introduced there will remain. It's just that we won't have any new Net Standard version.
Great. And what is happening with Xamarin? I mean, last year with Xamarin Forms 4, there were a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, hot reload, hot restart, shell. There was a lot of stuff, but I was looking at Xamarin Forms 5 and these announcements about Xamarin, but there is, I don't know, shapes is cool stuff, but there is no big changes. I mean, the announcement was improvements about what is done, and maybe some visual stuff. There is nothing incredible here. So I was like disappointed about this announcement. Xamarin Forms 5 doesn't look like a great new version. So Nico, what's going on with this?
Yeah, so what's going to happen with Xamarin? That's sort of the big deal, right? Because we had these very fancy new announcements for .NET, and then, well, we have shapes, that's something. We can build, better UIs now. That's okay, yes, but it's not quite as progress as we had on the .NET side. So, well, yeah, at this point you might already know about this. So there's a wave coming up for this monkey, and this is called the .NET 5 to .NET 6 wave. So that's the way Microsoft put it, and it's called like that because this will all land as stable for .NET 6, but because everything is going to, all the work that's being done has already started, then we might get something even before that. So maybe during .NET 5, maybe during between .NET 5 and .NET 6, but certainly they have already started. So on top of this wave, we have the .NET robot, and now it's it's surfing, and it's time to say aloha to .NET MAUI. So yes, that's the big announcement. And so we will have a new framework. So there are very big plans for Xamarin, or for .NET MAUI, we should say. Now, .NET MAUI actually stands for .NET Multi-Platform App UI. I'm not sure about you, but I certainly think MAUI is more sexy. So let's just call it .NET MAUI, So yeah,
it's more sexy, but more conflicted.
Oh yes. So if you have been hearing the news, well, it's not as easy as calling it MAUI, because there's a Linux project that's called MauiKit, and it's a very tragical and sad fact, clash, I would say, that this happened. So there's this MauiKit that exists on Linux, and then MAUI came up, and then everything is, I think they are under conversations at the moment. I think everyone has good intentions there, but certainly we're advised to call it .NET MAUI at the moment, and not just MAUI, because then you don't really know if it's MauiKit or .NET MAUI. And in the end, they might even change this name after 1.5 years, because that's how long it's going to take. So yeah, this is going to be a new framework. We have to look at it in that way. It's going to provide native UI. It's going to provide a single project experience, so you can forget about having this iOS project, Android project, UWP project, whatever project, plus PCL. Now net standard, well, it's going to be a single project by default. So a single code base, you can reuse more code. It's going to allow you to deploy to multiple devices, multiple operating systems at the same time, which is something we had been promised for a long time, and it's going to land in the end. This is going to be the evolution of Xamarin Forms, which means Xamarin Forms is going to die as the brand. So this is going to be like the natural evolution of Xamarin Forms. This is going to be for .NET 6. And now what's interesting to say also is that as the evolution of Xamarin Forms, we can expect this to be to have a very, very easy and smoothly migration step. But also, if you have an existing Xamarin Forms app, then you don't really need to worry, because you will have, at the moment, starting with the moment that MAUI is out, then you will have 1 year extended support for Xamarin Forms. So this means that you can start preparing your apps right now, but then in November next year, you will still have 1 more year to make that migration. Now, in terms of platforms, so MAUI is going to support kind of the same as Xamarin Forms, obviously, but we see some interesting things, like, for example, macOS is going to be a first-class citizen nowadays, with MAUI, and also for Xamarin Forms, we have support for the UWP and WPF. Whether that works or not, that's probably another question, but it's there. And certainly we will have support for Windows, sponsored, of course, by Microsoft, but we don't really see a platform there. I won't spoil anything. We will get there in a couple of minutes. Hang on there if you're a Windows developer. Now, Seb, I do have a question for you. This is a screenshot from Bill, and this is a MAUI app. Do you see anything special there?
I think there is a mistake there because there is no project for Android and no project for iOS.
That's
just
the
one project there.
Yes, that's the single project awesomeness that we will have in MAUI. So just one project, you know. This is, again, thanks to multi-targeting. That's the concept that came from the .NET Standard world. There's one more thing there.
And what happened with the images? Because as we know, as Xamarin developers, there is a conflict for the images. I mean, we have images for Android, images for iOS, different resolutions. What is going to happen with that?
Yes, and we have a lot of drawables, a lot of folders for those drawables. Yes, so apparently we will have this goodness as well there, that we can add only single images and single resources, whatever it is apparently, and then the platform at build time will generate those assets for us automatically, which is quite awesome. There are some tooling to do that at the moment, but of course this is going to be like first class support.
And what is going to happen if I have to modify some settings in my application, like the info in the iOS or maybe the manifest in Android? What is going to happen with that?
That's a good question. That's something I myself care a lot about, because I think if you're developing a mobile app, then you have to have a good reason for doing such a thing. Otherwise, you would be doing a PWA, something easier. So in most cases with Xamarin, we do, white label kind of apps and things that really require a lot of processing for configurations and things like that. So I myself made this question quite a lot, multiple times to the product group that works with this, and we were assured that flexibility will remain. So I think we can, we're on safe ground here.
And there was a question in the chat that maybe is the time to answer, that is about the non-implemented exception that is using Xamarin. What is going to happen in this? Maybe, well, it says .NET 5, if it is going to change, but maybe the answer is in MAUI. There is going to change. It's a very good question.
I don't think that, in the end, all these announcements mean that Xamarin will not make it to be fully integrated into .NET 5. It will happen with .NET 6. So I think you might be referring to the platform not implemented exception, if that's about .NET standard. So that will remain. It's unpopular for sure. That will remain.
And Nico, as we can see in the screen, XAML is used for the view, so I assume that it's going to be maintained in MAUI, and also MvvM is going to be used as a pattern. But is there any other possibility to write applications? Maybe in MAUI there is something different.
Yes, I have something that exactly addresses that question. So MAUI is going to have support for MVU. MVU is another architectural pattern, stands for model view updates. So if you're a purist, well, this is not MVU at all, because there are some missing pieces there, like the state is not initialized in a single place, the state there is mutable. There are many things that make this not really an 100% MVU approach, but it's very similar in the end to what SwiftUI does, for example, or to what React Native does also as well. It's going to be based on comment, and support for MVU is something I myself having waiting for a long time to be able to do such a thing in C#. And the nice thing about it is that we don't have to wait that much to get our hands dirty with this. I have a demo here. So this is actually a demo that uses Comet. Comet is the kind of the proof of concept that brought this idea to bring MVU support to MAUI. And what I will do, and yeah, do you know what IDE I'm using, Seba? Did you notice that?
Yeah, I was looking, and I thought that you are going to use Visual Studio for Mac, but it is not.
Well, there's no such a complex theme that customizes the IDE that much. So yeah, this is definitely Visual Studio for Visual Studio Code, sorry. So yeah, this is a common, again, it's an open source project, is alive there. What I did was well, I did a few pull requests there, but you can just download the source code and follow the instructions. You also need to install an extension, Visual Studio Code, and it just works. So for example, well, if I tap this button, it just works. But also, if I tap something like that there, boom, it's there, and I didn't even save the file. So it's hot reload for C#, and it works pretty nice. So let's see something else. You also get intelligence. So you can say something like, what's your favorite color, Seba?
Well, as my wall, we can use red.
Let's go for red. Yeah, boom, it's instantly.
Amazing.
So you can set breakpoints. You can, yeah, you know, it just works. Yeah, so it's there. You can try it. There are certainly a lot of proposals being opened in the MAUI repository. If you care about MVU, just go there, do some and contribute, because this is all in the conceptual stage. So it's really the moment to think about things. But Seba, is that everything that we had for MAUI?
No, but we can say from this example that two things are very important. One of them is we are using Visual Studio Code to develop in Xamarin. That is very cool, because we were using Mac. We were using just Visual Studio for Mac, and it was our only choice. But having Visual Studio Code support not only is a very good alternative, but also we are able to use Visual Studio Online to develop Xamarin. So it's very cool. And as you show, the hot reload is so cool. I mean, we can use hot reload from C#, not only XAML, but only C#. So it's very, very cool. Very fast. It's very fast, and yeah, it was. I am surprised with this speed, and also, well, the performance is better. I mean, a lot of renders are going to be recreated, so it is going to work better. And take a look to this. Imagine using other framework to create views. Do you know about Blazor?
Oh yes, that claims a bell.
Well, we are going to talk about Blazor, but imagine that you can create now views using Blazor for Xamarin. It's very
nice,
amazing. I mean, it's very different from we are used to work now that we use SAML and maybe code, and that's all. But we have a lot of alternatives with MVU, Blazor. We can use MVU, MVvm, and Blazor all together in the same project. Imagine that,
that's
Nico.
crazy. Yeah, I don't think anyone should do that, you know, but certainly the fact that you can do it is quite cool.
It's a mess, but you still can. It's incredible. Nice. And what is going to happen with Xamarin Essentials? I mean, it started as plugins, then it started as an official plugin. Then in MAUI, Xamarin Essentials is going to be part of .NET. I mean, it's going to be built in the platform. So we are going to have all that platform functionality incorporated into .NET. That is very cool. And also, we are going to have backward compatibility. I mean, if we have previous versions or applications done in Xamarin Forms, they are going to work. And also the migration is, I don't know, they say that it is going to be very easy. Yeah. We don't really know how it's going to be, but the promise is that it is going to be like running a command, something like that, and you will have your new MAUI application from Xamarin Forms project. Remember that Xamarin MAUI is the evolution of Xamarin Forms, so it should be very easy to do that migration.
That would make sense. Yeah. So what about names? I'm interested in that part, because if everything is going to be, what's going to happen to Xamarin in the end? What about this monkey?
Well, this is the sad part to me, because we are losing the Xamarin name in all the projects, because the Xamarin Forms namespace is going to change to System MAUI, and also the Xamarin Essential is going to be system devices, because it is going to be built in .NET, and also Xamarin iOS and Xamarin Android. They are going to be .NET for iOS and .NET for Android. So we are losing definitely the Xamarin name. Maybe someone is happy, but I suppose the monkey that you have there is not going to be so happy. But I don't know. MAUI is a sexy name, as you said, so it is.
I see a lot of monkeys there on John's camera.
My God. Yeah. But I don't know. I think that is cool, but I don't know. It's like
it's
weird feeling about the name, losing the Xamarin name. We get used from long time ago. Yeah.
Yes, I think what's nice about this is though that it's incredible how much integrated Xamarin will be. So it's going to be just, if you want to use .NET for iOS, well, that's .NET for iOS. In the end, everybody knows that's Xamarin. But certainly this is, Microsoft is really pushing this forward, and is certainly committing quite a lot of efforts into this.
Yeah, you can put a Hawaiian shirt to the monkey, and I think that is going to be updated to MAUI. Yeah,
that's the upgrade for the monkey.
Yeah.
So you do right click, migrate to MAUI, and then put a shirt on the monkey.
Yeah.
All right, but we're curious now to know, and also because we don't want you to just listen to us for that much time, so we're interested on your opinions. What do you think about .NET 5? What do you think about MAUI also and .NET 6?
I have a question about .NET MAUI. Do you think it will be the end of the native approach for the interface, like with Xamarin in iOS and the use of Xcode and other things?
Yeah, I don't think it's vanishing. It will be less popular, yes. Yes, and we might not see too many improvements to the tooling there, like for example the designers, but in the end, the approach from Xamarin that's making a bridge between the platforms, that's going to stay, and therefore MAUI is going to render UIKit widgets, for example, so you will still be able to do that, but I don't think Microsoft is going to push that that much on that.
Maybe there's something that can be said also. If I understood correctly, there will be breaking changes from the migration from Xamarin 4 to Xamarin 5, less breaking changes from Xamarin Forms 5 to MAUI. The thing is that they are reworking the architecture so that in MAUI, everything will be more lightweight. If you want to use the MVU approach, you won't have to embed everything related to XAML, for example, which will make the app much lighter.
Yeah.
This is also probably one of the reasons why it will still be possible, I guess, but even less front-facing than it is right now. But we should expect good things, because what made Xamarin Forms slow, in my opinion, was XAML and a lot of reflection done everywhere. Mm-hmm. If you use the MVU approach, you get rid of all of that.
Yes. So the new architecture is going to provide very lightweight renders, and then so right now everything is based on bindable object. That's not going to be the case anymore. So we'll have these lightweight renders, and then we will have support for MVU and MVvm, like two different things. Yeah, and as you said, when you're using XAML, if you're creating a new custom control, something like that, it feels like it's very heavy, as if you're doing something in Flutter or React Native, creating a component and following that MVU-ish approach feels much more lightweight, like more natural to, and more like webbish even, I would say, to just, this is a new component, create a class, add a few controls in there, and it might not change in the end much of the performance, but it feels lighter.
And speaking about performance, I think the question is too soon, but I let you see it. What about Xamarin Forms versus Xamarin Native and MAUI?
No ideas. We should hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? I think that compared to Xamarin Forms, it's going to be maybe better because they are changing the renderers, and they had time to improve a lot of stuff there. I don't know what is going to happen compared to Xamarin Native. It's difficult to get that performance. I think that Xamarin Forms got really better in the experience. So MAUI is going to have that performance, but the comparison is difficult to do, and we don't really know what is going to happen. I mean, MAUI is November 2021, so we have more than 1 year to get that version. So a lot of things could happen in the middle.
Yeah, there was one question asked a little bit earlier, but I think it's interesting. So it was, so Xamarin will no more be based on mono? I think it's not entirely true. I think with .NET 5 or .NET 6, we will have the same surface, but not necessarily the same runtime. Am I wrong?
That's 100% correct. Yeah. So it's more like the experience to the developer will fit as one, but in the end, of course, it's not the same to a runtime that needs to run on a mobile device than a runtime that's optimized for a cloud native app. They're different environments, so that will remain.
Excellent.
Cool. Any more comments, questions?
Yes, I have a question. Do you think it is a good idea to keep the MVvm approach and not use the MVU approach for developing application?
I think it really depends on the project and those kind of things, and what will you gain from migrating to MVU, for example. So MVvm will continue to be supported, and I would say if the project just works, and if you don't have performance problems, for example, or if the developers know what they are doing, if it's not like they don't know MVvm, for example, then I wouldn't really migrate. But certainly for a new project, is something you can consider. It's not like MVU is going to replace MVvm. Both are going to be very well maintained.
Both have advantages and disadvantages. If you think about unit testing, it may be easier in MVvm than it is in MVU, but speed of development may be better in MVU than in MVvm, and in the end, it's always depending on the developers. If they are, like you said, Nico, if the guys know what they are doing, they will be fast anyway.
Yeah. And of course, if you had a sample designer, for example, well, it might just work better continuing using XAML.
My heart blends.
Rest in peace. So I see that we have something in a half an hour, and we had actually quite a ton of announcements. So maybe we can continue. So yeah, if you have any question, any comment, please don't hesitate and type it in the chat window. But first, we have something new to offer, and this is actually the gift from Xablu, because because we're super happy to be here, and we're super thankful to you to allow us to present to your community and to be part of it. So we have a special gift, and that's 1 hour free support for everyone attending this meeting. So at Xablu, we're pretty fanatic about mobile development in general, but certainly also about Xamarin. So we have service that's support for teams. We could say it's something like that. So if your team is tagged on any features, if you have blocking issue, or if your app is not working as you would like it to be, or if you just need an expert code review, because sometimes we the developers deal with a lot of things, and certainly not just a mobile app many times. So it's okay not to be an expert on all the matters. It's not how the world works. Or if you struggle updating nuggets, if you have that package that you didn't upgrade for a long time because it has too many breaking changes, then we have this service for you. And this is a free hour that everyone gets. I will share a link with you. So there's no compromises here, nothing that you have to pay for, anything like that. This is just because we're pretty fanatic really about Xamarin. We love the platform, we love the mobile development in general, and we want your problems. So bring us your issues. We want them all. So the way this works is that you first go open that link. If you're interested, please do so as fast as you can and book that meeting, because that link, I believe, it will expire. So then first there's an intake session just to get to know what the project is about, and then we have this call or something like that. It's a free hour entirely, just because we like it and because we really want to help. And then after that's done, you get access, if you want, of course, to a platform where we usually also upload some news and breaking changes and things like that, generally about Xamarin development and mobile development as well.
Excellent, excellent. Nico, I was reading the chat, and then I was looking to the last comment that say that if we will have only XAML for design UI for all type of projects, desktop and web and mobile, and it made me think, because it talks about Silverlight, what is happening with the Windows development? I mean, Silverlight, we know that is anywhere.
Don't name it 3 times.
But what is happening with this Windows development?
Well, there were quite a lot of announcements for Windows, and the best way to put it is, Windows development is fun again, finally, because now it's really hassle. What do you use if you have a Windows project in front of you? Should you use WPF? Should you go for EWP? Should you go with Electron because all the others just suck? Well, there are big news here, and this is a screenshot from a Windows session, and here Microsoft states the different approaches and states of the art over time. We had, and the fun thing is that all these approaches are still valid and still maintained. So we have WinForms, WPF, and there's a big gap between WinRT apps and UWP apps. And what was announced, and that's very relevant to this matter, and oh, by the way, there's no Silverlight in there. So it's, like the history got cracked.
they forgot. They forgot, yeah.
Oh, yes, certainly. So they announced Project Reunion. And what's this about is it's a conceptual project where they will fix this gap, this barrier that there is between WinRT and EWP. So right now the challenge is that all the APIs for desktop or for EWP live within the operating system. And Project Reunion is all about taking over those dependencies and releasing them through something like Nugget. So then if your app is going to run on whatever platform, then you can just import those dependencies. And all of this is going to be under the umbrella of WinUI 3.0. So if you have been using WinUI before, like 1.0, 2.0 even, it's more of a toolkit, a UI toolkit, something that you plug into your app with cool widgets and those kind of things. But 3.0 is going to become a bigger thing. So it's going to be the state of the art for building Windows applications. And it's going to be compatible with Win32 and with UWP. So it's going to be like the way of building apps for Windows. What's nice about this is it's going to provide backwards compatibility. So you can create a new WinUI app, and it's going to work on older Windows versions. Should be easy, but it's not. You know, this is like something that yeah, I'm super excited about this one. So
Nico,
yes.
If I have a MAUI application that works with WinUI 3,
yes.
can I build an application for 32?
Yes. So let me just, because I think this can be confusing, let me clarify that. So we have MAUI on the one side, that's a cross-platform framework. And we have WinUI, that's the state-of-the-art for developing for Windows. So we could say that the relationship between MAUI and WinUI is the same relationship that there is between the Android SDK and MAUI, or between the Objective-C runtime and SDKs with MAUI. So it's MAUI is going to render WinUI components in runtime. That's the way it goes. But certainly yes, MAUI is going to support WinUI. So that's what's going to happen. If you recall, in the screenshot where we had the platforms for MAUI, we said there was something for Windows. This is it, WinUI.
Great, very good news for Windows developers. I mean, yeah, it's very cool. They are unifying everything. I really like that approach. Yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Seba, what's going to happen to C#? Are we going to build everything with C#, or is that going to change?
Yeah, well, we have we have just 5 minutes to talk about C#. So we are going to talk about two specific things. One of them is important regarding to MVU. As you mentioned, the state of the application, that is very important to MVU. It needs to be immutable. But we don't have any structure that is really immutable in C# 8. So in C# 9, a new structure is going to appear that is called record. And this records has the immutability incorporated. It means that when you define a record, all the attributes are going to be initialized. I mean, you are going to set an initial value, and then it is not going to be modified. It's converted to read-only. So let's see some examples. I think that is easy to understand if we see some code.
I need that, yes.
What you can see there in the example, Nico, different from other C# components?
I see the word data and also init, and there's no setter on those properties.
Yeah, well, that data is related to the records. If you put data in the before the class, you are creating a record, and the init is like the setter, but to initialize the attributes, and then it's not going to change anymore. I mean, you cannot call the init method twice. It's just to specify an initial value, and then that's all. You're going to use that value, and it is not going to change. But this is maybe the code to understand, but it's a very, very reduced version of that we are going to show in other examples. That what happens if I have two objects that has the same attributes? I mean, two records with the same values of attributes. What is the usual behavior in C# 8? I mean, I have two classes with the same structure and the same attributes and the same values. What happens is if I compare that two classes, if
the objects are complexes, then the comparison goes by reference.
Yeah, so they are different. I mean, talking about objects, but talking about records, if they have the same values, they are the same object.
Okay.
I mean, the records are evaluated by its values. So it's important to understand that this is a key difference. And also, if we modify, if we want to do a modification, we have to create a new record. I mean, we had to create a new state in MVU in order to do some modification within,
Right.
because this is not the idea to change values in the attributes. So maybe you are familiar with this with sentence that is used to create a copy of the record, but modifying some specific value. Maybe you want a very, very similar object, similar record, but with just one difference. So you can use the with to create a copy, but with a different attribute. And this example is very interesting, because if you have a record, you use the with and change one value, and then you change, you call the with sentence again and change the value for its original value. It is going to be the same object.
Nice.
It's quite different, but I think that once you get used to that, it's very, very...
That's actually interesting, because that means that if I start using records in an existing code base, then I need to be aware that if I add the word data to my classes, then comparison is going to be by default value based. So that's going to break my whole code base.
Yeah,
Interesting.
We can show the reduce sentence for creating records. And this is in the blue arrow, as you can see. If you create a data class, I mean a record, if you specify the attributes, they will have a get and init method by default. So they are going to be records. It's interesting to have this reduced sentence just to create a record.
Right. That's like the super lazy way. That's what we want.
Yeah. But it's important to understand what it does mean. I mean, the long version is important to understand what you are doing with the reduced version. But I think that we are lazy and we are going to write the reduced version. But it's important to know the other one. And the other,
what would be nice if you could tell a computer to do that for you, even being more lazy. That would be nice if the computer could write code for you.
It's impossible. It is impossible. No computer is writing code right now.
Okay.
But another cool stuff about C# is, I don't know if you have the screenshot of the Scott's talk.
This is just so
funny.
It is
very funny.
we should do it the next time, Seba.
Yeah. We are working on that. Yeah, maybe in 10 years we can do like them. But take a look to the code. Can you see anything different? What is the main method?
Yes, I don't see it. I see it's a single project in the solution. There's program. Apparently that's the file is open. I don't see. I don't get it. What's there? Why is that?
Well, it is not required anymore. You can just write your code there, and it's going to be the same as having the main static method. So you can have a project with just one file there, a program, and then just have a console write line, and it is going to work. It's like almost like a script.
Yes, is it? So is C# a language for scripts in the future? Can someone go to the future and tell me that? Maybe, right?
Maybe. That
nice.
one thing that they talk about is that they really want to be in the front of all the languages. I mean, they really want to innovate and not being behind the other languages and incorporating stuff that other languages have, but be the first to innovate and to have new functionality. So C# is going to be a very, very innovative technology.
Nice.
Innovative language.
That's interesting also,
Yeah.
So we have a question. So it would be nice if all the usings were optional and required only if using unusual classes. Then could this fantastic behavior be implemented? When could this fantastic behavior be implemented? Well, actually, if you do something like console write line, you don't need any usings there. System, I think, is imported by default. and there are a bunch of defaults there. So you can have nowadays a single line C# app.
Yeah, and if you use the long, I mean, if you put all the namespaces, you don't require using. But it's a good point. And also remember that C# is open source, so maybe you can work on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
And Nico, what about Blazor? We mentioned Blazor when talking about MAUI. So what is that Blazor thing?
Yeah, so far we have been able to use Blazor server. So Blazor uses, it's a front-end framework, allows you to write your UI using Razor templates, and certainly you can write your front-end in C#. But with Blazor server, the whole thing renders in your backend. So it's connected through a socket, and then it's kind of a tricky way to do it. But now what was announced here. Is it Blazor WebAssembly is now a reality? It's stable now, so it's out there in the end. Finally, I would say. So the Blazor team has worked really, really hard to get WebAssembly going, and the whole community, the whole software community, is going now to benefit from that, of course, which is nice, and that I think really proves how good the Blazor team is. But yeah, so Blazor WebAssembly basically means that now. Blazor is going to render and it's going to work in your browser. It doesn't need to have an open socket to work there. So if you want to get your hands on it, then you need to be using .NET Core 3.1.3. The current version is not long-term supported, which means that you should, you certainly should keep upgrading till that happens, because that means that issues might be there, and there will be many patches out there, I think. With Blazor WebAssembly, you can build PWAs already. It has support for pre-compression, debugging, all that you can expect from a very decent front-end framework for the web. You can use Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio for Mac, everything basically. And the nice thing, what I like the most about Blazor is that it allows you to have a 100% full stack experience from the database, from your backend to your frontend, and put breakpoints on all those pieces, and then do all of this in a single IDE. And it performs really well in all the different stacks. It's just amazing.
Amazing.
And Seba, what about devices? So we have surfaces. Build is not really about hardware, but do we have any news around that?
Well, funny fact, in previous version of Microsoft Build, when the ticket it is not cheap, it was an expensive ticket. Not now that is free and online and all that stuff, but when you went to the last old build sessions, you got a device. Tablet or cell phone, something like that. It was interesting, yeah. But talking about, you're right. It is not related to hardware, but it's related to applications. So there is a new family of devices that are like books because they have two screens and they are working together. I mean, if you had an application now and it's running in Android or running in Xamarin, I mean, it is going to work the same in the double screen, but having this weird device, we have a lot of new possibilities to create applications. I mean, there is a lot of new scenarios and layouts that are appearing. So it was interesting because they show some examples on. Yeah. I don't see the other.
Oh yeah, well, it's this new device doesn't work really well.
So don't worry if you don't have the device in your home. Don't worry because there is emulators available. You have to install it, but you can give a shot and try to create an application and interact with the two screens. Maybe if you are used to work with the master detail page and the menu, maybe you can use one screen for the menu, when the other screen for the detail, or maybe you can have a list in the one screen and the I don't know, a list of news and the detail in the other screen, or maybe you are in YouTube and you want to reproduce the video in one screen and see the reproduction list in the other screen.
Nice.
So it's interesting. It's interesting to play. So you are invited to take a look to that. And also, I have some stuff regarding Windows and Office, but we have
9 minutes, so we should do one phrase for each.
I'm going to mention just key concepts. The first is one that I really like, that is the Windows Package Manager. I mean, today, in order to install Visual Studio, I have to go to the web page, look for the link, then download the file, then executing it. There is a lot of steps, and mostly we don't remember the web page, so we are going to Google or Bing and look for the web page. So there's a lot of steps there, but with Windows Package Manager, we can install applications in Windows the same way as we do in Node or with the command line. With just a sentence, we can install Visual Studio and Windows applications. So it's very, very, very cool. Also, well, Microsoft Teams is actually being used a lot. So they use Microsoft Teams for all the examples there. It's working so well. It's interesting to take a look to all the new stuff that is incorporated to them. Also, Fluid Framework is presented as a very, very cool alternative to share information between applications and Office. And another thing that was really mentioned is the Power Platforms, that I was surprised because I mean, we are developers and we are not taking a deep look to these technologies that are prepared for non-technical users. But Power Platforms, they were mentioned in the keynote of Satya's keynote, and also there were a lot of samples using Power Platforms. So take a look to this technology. It's interesting. You can create an application. You can connect it to databases, to Azure. There is a lot of stuff there. And also, another cool thing is the union with Windows and Linux. I mean, we have the command line. We have the new version of the command line. And also, now we can run graphic interface from Linux in Windows. So it's so interesting, not only running commands and sentences and that stuff, but also running the graphic interface from Linux in Windows. So it is interesting to see how Linux is slowly integrating in Windows. It's totally different from other ages.
Yes. So we have a couple announcements about Azure. Of course, there has a lot. The Azure always takes a very centric place in all Microsoft conferences, which is, of course, okay. It's nice. So we have now Azure Static Web Apps. It's being released. It's not stable yet. It's free. You can deploy any JavaScript framework-based app even to it. So, just for you to use it and to play with it at the moment. And then Synapse Link was announced. Synapse Link, it's, we always have this hassle between the operational database and the analytical database, and it was always difficult to have them in sync. But now Azure, if you're using, of course, your database is based on Cosmos DB at the moment, well, you can, with just a single click, sync those two databases without losing any kind of performance, and then all that will be connected for you. So that's kind of, it always took a lot of time to deal with that. Then Microsoft is also investing quite a lot of resources into improving how we work, as we said at the very beginning, and they released a new developer velocity assessment tool it's going to evolve over time, but it's there to help organizations to achieve more. And that, of course, not only means to write more code. In the end, we know for sure that the code that works best is the one that you don't write. So it's not really about making us be more productive. It's about the organization. It's working better. And then we have Project Tie. Project Tie is actually an experimental feature if it wouldn't be like that, we would have spoken much more about it. So it's a microservices framework based on Kubernetes, and it's very opinionated. It contains all the opinions from best practices from Microsoft. You know, this year was planned to be the Kubernetes year. In the end, it turned out to be the coronavirus year. So who knows? So yeah, it's a microservices framework that runs on top of Kubernetes. Very nice, but still experimental, not even in preview. So I see some comments from John. Thanks, they're actually super valuable ones. Yeah. So what's the difference between these two approaches for hosting HPA and
Maybe
Johnny,
I can take over on this
Yes.
one because I'm just actually migrating to
Nice.
static, not web apps, but websites. So the difference is that basically you have the whole tool chain of building your website from GitHub and publishing to Azure when you use static websites. The problem is that it's a little bit like GitHub page. If you have a Jekyll website and you need some native modules or whatever, you cannot do that. So for the moment, it's in preview. You have a list of things that you can do. It doesn't support Jekyll. It supports Hugo, which is great, but it supports also Gatsby and other stuff. So there are some limitations to what tool you can use to build your static website. But I think it's to be looked attentively just in case things evolve on their side.
Does it will come one day with DevOps or is still
it's
with GitOps? Action, sorry.
I don't know about this one. I wouldn't count on it.
So bad. DevOps is very good. So.
Yeah. If I think if there's a demand for it, it will land there. But GitHub is being prioritized, I think.
Thank you.
So generally, what Microsoft advises us to do all the time is if you care about something and if you see an open issue there, then go and give it your thumbs up because they really care about those. So that's one of the ways they measure demand, and it takes nothing for us to do it. So if you want it to be there, yeah, do that Google search and find the issue and give it your thumbs up. So so we have 2 minutes. Let's go.
Yes.
Try to something we kind of missed really. So the era of artificial intelligence. This is something that also took a lot of space in the conference, and there's actually one talk from the CTO at Microsoft, and what he says is very interesting because he says, well, for if artificial intelligence wants to succeed as something in the software industry, then it needs to become a platform. Everything that succeeded did it because it turned out to be a platform. So that counts for the internet, for Windows at the very beginning, for iOS even now. We could say for even Kubernetes maybe. So AI needs to have a way of being a platform. And in that way, in that same sense, Microsoft announced a partnership with OpenAI. OpenAI is one of the largest organizations for that builds models for artificial intelligence. And they also announced a new supercomputer. It's, of course, based on Azure. But the funny thing about this is that it only took 6 months to build, while it usually takes ages. And it became one of the fifth, I think it's the fifth largest and fastest in the world. So yeah, the sad thing is that it's exclusively to be used with OpenAI, so we cannot really get our hands there. I think at some moment something like what IBM did with Watson will happen, and we will get access to do some things that run there, but certainly not yet. And also a very nice announcement, or very big announcement even, was that Turing natural language generator is now open source. So if you don't know what it is a product from Microsoft Research, and it's basically a model that is able to read text and to explore the internet for more information and then answer questions that you want to make based on that. So if you have children, I would say that you need to be careful with that, because that's going to be the guy that answers all the questions and that does the homework. So it's, you know, like the new Wikipedia for students, probably. It's open source now. We can really see what's there and use it ourselves as well. That's the probably the answer. So John, thanks for telling us that we have a couple more minutes. So Seba, maybe we can finish with collaborating from home.
Yeah. Well, I want to mention just two tools that are really helpful to work from home. The first one is the Visual Studio Live Share. That is actually not new, but they added a new feature that is the audio calls. Now you can talk with the other guy. But if you don't know about this tool, it's very interesting because it allows you to share your session in Visual Studio the same way that we use in Word, Excel, and that stuff. But we can share our session. We can write code together. We can pin and follow the other guy who is coding. We can share debug together. We can share the terminal. We can share the servers. I mean, if I create a server, a local host, the other connected people are going to open their browsers and see the same local host that I am using. So it's interesting, and well,
Nice.
just one feature was added, but it's interesting to take a look, because a lot of demos in the build were using this tool to show their samples. And other interesting tool is the Visual Studio Online that now is called Code Spaces, because they announced one new feature that is the possibility to open this ID from GitHub. I mean, if you are in the GitHub repository, one button is going to be added because it's not still available. But you can open the Visual Studio Online from GitHub, and then you can work on your repository. And the cool thing about Visual Studio Online or Code Spaces is that you don't require to have anything installed. I mean, you can use it from the browser without installing anything, and it's Visual Studio Code complete in its complete version. You can also open a session of Visual Studio Live Share. So maybe as we said, we will use MAUI from Visual Studio Online. So it's going to be very cool. And if
That'd
you
be
are
nice.
not in, sorry.
No, that would be nice. I don't think it's going to be part of the initial set of features, but that'd be certainly very cool.
Yeah, and maybe now you're at home, but maybe in the future you're at your mother's or family home, and you have a computer that is not for developers, and you have nothing installed. No problem. You just open Visual Studio Online, and you can work anywhere, and you can push. Or maybe you are lazy and you are in the other place in your home, and you want to not to go to the computer, so you can open your session from everywhere, just do your changes, pushing it to the repository, and that's all from everywhere. And
yeah, I can imagine that in the future we will say, if you drink, don't open Code Spaces.
yeah,
because
the
in the end,
artificial
it's
intelligence has
sad.
to work there, yeah, to prevent you. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can do it from anywhere, well, be careful also.
From a bar, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's pretty much all we got for this recap. Of course, there were plenty of things that we couldn't cover. This is just 1 hour and a half as a summary for 48 hours. But I think we did our best. So if you have any questions, of course, we're able to take a look at them, to answer them. And again, thank you very much to John, to all the organizers, and to everyone that's attending this meeting, for having us and to allowing us to present.
Yes, thank you, both of you. Does anyone has any questions to ask? Now's the time. I guess that would be a no then. So thank you, Nico. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Hank. And thank you, everyone who joined. It was a pleasure. And see you next time, because yes, there will be a next time.
That's cool. Yes, do you have a certain date for our next meetup? Not yet.
Nothing planned yet, but
Right.
I will talk with Cyril, who is there also, is a co-organizer of the meetup, and we'll try to do something more regular, let's say. No promises on the date for the moment.
Nice.
Cool. Then thank you, everyone. Have a good day in Argentina and a good evening for those who are in Europe.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks for attending as well.
Thank
Thanks
you.
to you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.